Madam President. The promise of never again dies in Syrian prisons. Those were the words of Josh Rogan in the Washington Post last week. He referenced the extraordinary evidence of the torture in Assad's death facilities. A brave Syrian citizen called Caesar smuggled exactly that evidence out at the risk of his and his family's life. So now we must play our part, at last. Because I agree with those who say that Europe is too much of a payer and not a player vis-à-vis the war in Syria. And it has to change because we still lack a common EU strategy. And of course the sudden US change of direction in Syria has major consequences, while ISIS is not defeated. And I hear a repetition of the words "no military solution to the war in Syria can be found," but of course that doesn't in and of itself change the fact that military moves do create realities on the ground that we must be realistic about. So I think we need to put pressure on the warring parties, particularly to protect civilians in and around Idlib, people who were forcibly displaced from other parts of the country in the first place. Aleppo and Homs are now risk being trapped and targeted again. We must also make sure that what we do in terms of adopting sanctions vis-à-vis Syria is also implemented. We have targeted sanctions, for example, to hold to account individuals without punishing the entire population. And we have to make sure that our broad package of sanctions is smart and that they are upheld. We heard of Belgian companies shipping tons of chemicals to Syria, which may have been used to create weapons. And Italy rolled out the red carpet for Ali Mamlouk, a security official who is not supposed to enter the EU. We're not credible if we don't live up to our own commitments. And lastly, briefly, in Lebanon, Jordan and Turkey, the pressure on local communities is growing and young and vulnerable people pay the price. It is very urgent to address sexual exploitation of girls and child labour and avoid them falling into the hands of criminals and militias.